Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at some crypto news. I've got several news stories for you today. We're going to be looking at the price of Bitcoin has whiplashed or whipsawed or however you want to say it back and forth. It shot up and then it's been pulling back. What in the world is going on? I think we can find out what some of the answers are for all this crazy price action in the current news stories from this past week. We're going to look at some bearish news and we're also going to look at a little bit of bullish news as well. Plus, I got a little bit of crypto rumors to share with you in this video also, so you're not going to want to miss it. Let's go ahead and get started. A little bit of news that looked positive, at least at first on face value. Judge ruled that the SEC could not reject Grayscale's ETF. Grayscale, as well as several other companies, have been planning to apply for approval to put out their own ETF, exchange traded fund, for Bitcoin. Keep in mind the SEC has always said you just need to register so you're not a unregistered security. So a lot of times people read news stories at face value, but if you're following the news, you hear the SEC say, hey, you just have to apply to be registered. And then you see here that they attempted to reject the application from some of the largest, most mainstream financial institutions. And you can't help but wonder exactly what that's really all about. Grayscale's CEO was on Twitter and he said the DC Circuit Court ruled in favor of Grayscale in our lawsuit challenging the SEC's decision to deny Grayscale's conversion to an ETF. Ben Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, said, "Congrats. Strange world we live in, where winning against the SEC in court is seen as a rite of passage in our industry." I would agree with that. Is it a strange world? It is a bit of a strange world. Now, a lot of people saw this as very, very bullish, and that's why we saw that big spike right here. But unfortunately, that wasn't the full story. Then what ended up happening? The SEC delays spot Bitcoin ETF decision for all applicants, including BlackRock, Fidelity, and of course Grayscale and several others. Here's how this played out. The SEC, the entire time, who has been saying all you have to do is apply to be regulated so you're not unregulated, they attempted to deny the applications, meaning they didn't want to regulate them. They didn't want them regulated. Then a federal judge said, no, you can't deny the application. When that happened, price spiked. But then, later that afternoon, the SEC delayed making a decision on the ETFs. So let's take a look here. The SEC delays spot Bitcoin ETF decision for all applicants. The regulator has now announced delays for all 6 of the new ETF applications. Bitcoin fell further on the news, now off 4.1% over the past 24 hours. It's actually lower than that now, as we saw earlier. Advocates have argued that these ETFs would allow for greater retail investment in the Bitcoin space while saving investors from the troubles of setting up a wallet or having to buy Bitcoin directly. Today's order sees the SEC holding off on any firm decision, instead extending existing comment periods and allowing for greater public feedback on the applications. The SEC staff has traditionally used every possible comment and review period to delay making final decisions until those 240 days have elapsed. So we see here that traditionally all they do is just stall. The reality is there's no evidence that the SEC, even though they're supposed to get public feedback, there is literally zero evidence all that public feedback has ever mattered for any one decision ever made by the SEC. So this is clearly most likely just a stall tactic. The judge said the SEC's denial of the application was inconsistent. This is good right here. This is, I think, pretty blistering, if you will, based on what the judge said. And it really just shows some strange hypocrisy that's going on right here. The judge said the SEC's denial of the application was inconsistent with the approval of a pair of Bitcoin futures ETFs and did not explain why it viewed these types of products differently given the underlying Bitcoin market had a 99.9% correlation between spot and futures market prices. Grayscale's argument that it proposed ETF was materially similar to the futures ETFs won. First, the underlying assets, Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures, are closely correlated. And second, the surveillance sharing agreements with the CME are identical and should have the same likelihood of detecting fraudulent or manipulative conduct in the market for Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures, she said. The appeals court ordered the regulator to review the application once more. And of course, this is when the regulator, being the SEC, said, you know what? We're going to kick the can down the road and delay it. And the real question is, what are they delaying it for? So this is when the market basically started to tank a good bit. Now, this next news story is interesting. A lot of people started to see this as a positive. This is the third story we're going to cover here, and that's right here. When the Bitcoin ETF is inevitable, according to the last SEC chairman, Jay Clayton. Jay Clayton was, I believe he was the SEC chairman before Gary Gensler, and he's saying here, hey, this Bitcoin ETF thing, it's going to be inevitable. Let's just read this right here because this is important. When people first saw this, they were like, oh, that's bullish. I even saw a video where someone was like, oh, this is awesome. This is bullish news. I think this is bullish for overall price. I think this is incredibly bearish for average individual investors. Remember, I've always said at the end of the day, they want to control, they being traditional finance. They want to make certain that they're going to be earning their fees. And they want to prevent you, the average investor, from being able to transact in crypto. They want to stop you from holding custody of your own crypto funds. And they want you to have to get their permission to have your funds. Now, when I first started saying this 2 years ago, when I was saying that I was worried about regulations, as so many people were calling for regulations, and I said this is what I was worried about it. When I said that then, so many people were like, oh, you're paranoid. And it wasn't about being paranoid. It was just about following the money. Who makes the most money by these regulations? It's the banking industry, of course. Of course. So take a look at what Chairman Clayton said right here. Approval is inevitable, Clayton said Friday in an interview with CNBC, adding that the current state of affairs, wherein retail traders have access to a Bitcoin futures exchange traded product, but not one based on the Bitcoin cash market, can't go on forever. Clayton said that the SEC has had legitimate concerns that the Bitcoin cash market, now when we say cash market, we mean the Bitcoin spot market, that the Bitcoin cash market was so easily manipulatable that retail folks should not have access to it, but that there's growing evidence against his attitude. There are now large institutions with surveillance mechanisms who are coming in and saying, no, that's not the case, Clayton said, and that's a shift. Okay, so please, let's dissect this for just a moment. Literally, as plain as day, he said the Bitcoin market could be manipulated, so therefore you and I should not have access to it. Think about this. The Bitcoin spot market and the Bitcoin spot ETF pricing should both trade based on the price of Bitcoin. Period. So why would you and I want to go into a Bitcoin ETF? We wouldn't. We wouldn't. Some of the large institutions would, but the vast majority of wealth that exists is still in the hands of private citizens collectively. And they want access to all of our private funds so they can earn fees on our private funds. They don't want us to have free access of our own money. And as crazy as that sounds, keep in mind right now, cash is getting controlled and limited. The amount that you can withdraw in so many institutions is shrinking over and over again. Over in the UK, I think it is, I think their cash withdrawals, and someone can correct me on this, but I think it's limited to like $1,600 or something like that. Why? Because when you deal in cash, they don't make fees. When you swipe that debit card for $100, they charge 3%. When you buy your groceries, that grocery store loses 3%. When that grocery store owner goes to pay the lawn guy to cut his lawn, if he swipes a debit card or credit card, he loses 3%. There's a 3% tax on every single transaction, and that transaction is basically fees that goes to the financial cartel of the world. And when you deal in cash, they don't get their fees. So this is taking away the freedom of finance, in my personal opinion. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear it in the comments. But right here, Clayton literally said the Bitcoin cash market's easily manipulated. But somehow the Bitcoin ETF market isn't, even though they are nearly 100% correlated, obviously, because the Bitcoin ETF market follows the spot price. Anyway, but now there's large institutions with surveillance mechanisms who are coming in and saying, no, that's not the case. Clayton said. That's a shift. So now, big finance. So you will hear plenty of crypto YouTubers, plenty of influencers, plenty of talking heads on television saying this is good for crypto, this is good for crypto. At the end of the day, anything that takes away freedom from you and me, I don't think is necessarily good for crypto. All right, let's keep going. Next news story, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. This is a pretty interesting news story. Elon Musk has quietly primed the crypto market for an explosive bombshell that could play havoc with the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Dogecoin. So essentially what this story is talking about is that Elon Musk, here we'll look at it here, now X, which was formerly Twitter, now X has been granted a currency transmitter license by Rhode Island's regulators, widely celebrated as a step towards the social network that Musk is hell-bent on trying to turn into a China WeChat style, all singing, all dancing super app, being able to custody, transfer, and exchange Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. This is fascinating. This could be incredibly bullish. I don't know how I feel about it. Again, this is still, I mean, they're saying that we have custody of our funds. This is interesting. Now, I just saw a tweet. I just thought about this, slightly unrelated, but it's somewhat similar. I just literally saw a tweet from Elon Musk where he basically said creators should be able to capture email addresses and basically should own their own list. You know, on YouTube, if you subscribe to my channel, I don't own you as a subscriber. YouTube can shut me down at any point in time, and unless you've subscribed to one of my actual email lists, I don't have access to that data. Even though YouTube has access to your emails, they don't have to give me that data. By law, if you subscribe to my emails, the email companies don't own that. I own your email address should you choose to give it to me. That's how that works, not the email provider. But it's different with social media. Now, what's interesting is X has just come out and said that creators, should they choose to leave X or Twitter, should they choose to leave, they should be able to take the emails of their followers with them. They should own it. They should feel comfortable with it. That's very fascinating if that ends up being genuine, because that would be in line with saying, hey, just because you use our app doesn't mean you should not have custody of your own funds. Now, I'm probably stretching this out here for a bit, and I'm not certain. I'm trying to, if you will, predict a little bit about what this news may mean overall. It's really hard to say for sure, for certain, but I think if we have individual custody of our funds, and that can somehow, that you can have a self-custody wallet somehow be implemented in with Twitter or X, I think that would be incredible. Now, there's nowhere in here where it actually said, there's nowhere in this article, nowhere, nothing that, has actually been said that, this money transmitter license is specifically for cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. But of course, anytime Elon says anything that hints to crypto, the markets go nuts. So we can only guess what he means by this or what is happening, but I think it's very fascinating. If nothing else, it's fascinating from a social media business standpoint to see what Elon Musk is ultimately going to do. You can say a lot of things about Elon Musk. You can love him or hate him. You cannot claim that the guy is not innovative. He's definitely is, and it will be interesting if he can do something with Twitter to make it this large financial app and give us custody of our own cryptocurrency at the same time. That could truly help adoption. I like that idea a lot better than someone like Grayscale saying you can't self-custody your funds and you must, by law, use our ETFs. That's ultimately what these financial institutions are after. Next up, Bitcoin continues to outperform Warren Buffett's portfolio, and the gap is set to widen. Okay, so this is incredibly interesting. I love this so much. So before crypto, I was a huge Warren Buffett fan. I mean, all the way back in college, I paid attention to what Warren Buffett was. As soon as I became familiar with investing, for me, it's like, okay, who is the most successful investor? And I need to learn from this person. So I read several books about Warren Buffett, and I've followed him over the years. It did not matter to me that he didn't like cryptocurrency. I understood that if he suddenly liked cryptocurrency, then that would break with his core beliefs and his core investing thesis. I fully got it. I fully understood it. Never held it against him. However, I do believe that he's obviously behind on the crypto curve overall. And right here, I found it fascinating where they talked about that Bitcoin is outperforming Warren Buffett's portfolio. Warren Buffett's arguably the greatest the greatest traditional investor of all time based on the consistency and length of his returns. Multiple decades of positive growth that has compounded obviously to a staggering fortune, putting him one of the top 5 or 6 richest men in the world. Couple of things. They talk about the fact that Buffett downplays non-productive commodities as a store of value. And they really highlight gold here. That gold basically at the end of the day, it's overpriced and it's primarily driven by fear. And I think that there's some truth to that. What separates crypto from gold is really the utility of it, the portability of it, the security of it, and the inability to find more of it. When I talk about crypto here, I'm primarily talking about Bitcoin and specifically. And I think that so many times people talk about, oh, Bitcoin can't be money. And here they talk about it doesn't matter what commodity you invest in. At some point, people want to sell that commodity to buy things. And I think that's true. So Bitcoin can't be money because people want to sell it because it's a commodity. I mean, the fact that you can easily sell Bitcoin for any denomination, even fractions of a cent if you wanted to. I mean, the fees make that prohibitive, but you could do that. Make it very different than gold. I mean, I know a lot of quote unquote gold bugs. And a common thing with bugs, which a gold bug is someone who believes in the future of precious metals as a asset class, and they feel that they should hold precious metals in some quantity because of some sort of fear-based idea that the entire economic system could collapse. I share a portion of that sentiment, by the way, so I'm very familiar with gold bugs, and any gold bug who believes such things, what they'll do is they'll say buy junk silver, which is old silver coins in the US that are about 90% silver. Why? Because they're more easily divisible and spendable as cash if you ever needed to. Another strategy, when I was in college, I met a guy and he would always buy gold in 1/10 ounces instead of 1 ounce, which is probably the most popular size that people buy. His reasoning behind buying 1/10 of an ounce was because, again, it's a smaller, more, portable, easier to use, easier to transact with if you ever had to, as opposed to cutting off a piece of an ounce, if you would. So by that argument, gold is a commodity and doesn't work well as money. Bitcoin works much better as a store of value and as a money source or a financial source. Now, even the guys who want to say, oh, Bitcoin's not good money, it's not scalable, it takes a long time to complete transactions. Even with all those technical shortcomings that Bitcoin still has, time and time again, we have seen when people needed a cash alternative, the number one asset class that we've seen people go to so far when they need a true cash alternative outside of traditional finance, over and over again, every countries and companies and individuals have so far went to Bitcoin. And I believe when the need is great enough, the technical shortcomings matter a lot less. And I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to, be the sole crypto that goes to $1 million. I believe it's absolutely possible that we could see $1 million Bitcoin one day, not just because of inflation, because of utilization and total mass adoption. If you just look at Bitcoin, and I made a whole video on this one time. If you just look at Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin replace gold as a primary store of value. And I think Bitcoin in so many ways is better than gold if you outside of the price volatility. But if you look at Bitcoin as a store of value, in order for it to replace gold, Bitcoin would literally have to have a value of about $500,000 per Bitcoin. That is a conservative estimate, mind you. And that's not considering the fact that, there's never going to be 21 million Bitcoin in circulation. Many Bitcoin have been lost, never to come back again, lost in wallets. Satoshi's Bitcoins may be lost forever. But just based on a circulation of 21 million Bitcoin, assuming they were all in circulation, in order to replace the gold, the gold market, the store of value, the size of the gold market in US dollars and today's dollars, every Bitcoin would be a little over $500,000, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, Bitcoin price is obviously going to go up, but Bitcoin isn't just a commodity. We can see that countries like Bahrain have started using Bitcoin in their own reserves, in their own central bank reserves. That is incredible. MicroStrategy has been buying Bitcoin because they believe in its long-term store of value. And I believe we're going to see more countries and more companies. Now, you may say Bahrain is nothing; it's this tiny country. You may say yes, but MicroStrategy is one of two or three companies that are actually buying large amounts of cryptocurrency. And I would tell you you're exactly right. But when I started making videos on this channel back in I think 2017, 2018, if you would have made a video saying any company back then or any country was using Bitcoin as a store of value, I think it would have made massive news and it would have just pumped the price like crazy. People would have been shocked. They couldn't have believed that would have happened. In fact, I made a video where I talked about people, either individuals who lose faith in their economy, which is exactly what has happened in Venezuela. Individuals turn to Bitcoin and use it, and that could start to lead to mass adoption. And I said companies who worry about the dollar, they're holding their reserves in liquid dollars. People like Warren Buffett, who Warren Buffett is sitting on cash reserves right now because he believes that the market, the overall market is overpriced. So he's sitting on cash reserves, and as he's sitting on those cash reserves, he's literally losing money to inflation on that cash position. We've seen banks lose money because of inflation. We've seen banks go under because of the losses that they had due primarily to inflation. When you consider that and you see individuals like in Venezuela, companies like MicroStrategy, countries like Bahrain, you see people turning to cryptocurrency. It's a better store of value, obviously, than gold. And I believe that more and more people are going to see it as a necessary store of value. So I think we're going to continue to see Bitcoin outpace Warren Buffett's current strategy. This right here was a great chart. This is, by the way, as you look at this chart, it can look like, this is going back, if you'd the orange line, which is very volatile. If you'd invested in Bitcoin back, I think in 2019, the blue line is if you had just held Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, since 2019, you can see that Bitcoin outpaced Warren Buffett. But here's what's crazy. Here, they actually leveraged Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, by a factor of 3. So this isn't, if you would have factored Bitcoin by a factor of 3, it would have been way higher. This is by a factor of 3. So if you took out that factor of 3, we'd probably only be down here about 150, 200 at the most. Bitcoin has massively outperformed Warren Buffett so far. And if you come down, this is going back to 2017. And again, this still Warren Buffett, they used a factor of 3, which I'm not sure why they would have done that. If you're trying to compare apples to apples, you can't leverage Berkshire Hathaway in the graph and not leverage Bitcoin. But neither here nor there, you see such a significant difference. This is just 2017, ladies and gentlemen. This is 5 years basically. So this is unreal. And so do I think that Bitcoin is going to continue to outperform Warren Buffett? Listen, not financial advice, but absolutely. Of course. The thing, and one more thing that he said down here, he talked about that he liked companies that produced real yield. I can tell you that I love investing in crypto projects that also produce real yield. Currently, I'm also producing a yield using copy trading. If you want to follow my journey to $5,000 per month copy trading, go down in the description. I'll leave this page down there. You can subscribe, put your name, email, click submit. And I'm literally next week, I'm going to be putting out an update on where I'm at so far, how much I've earned this past month. You're not going to want to miss it. Go subscribe down in the description. All right, next story coming up. I've got this story, and then I've got some real crypto drama coming up after this story. And then I'm going to talk to you about something special that's going to be happening on my channel. So right here, this is incredible. Brazilian crypto streamer loses $60,000 after showing private keys. He did recover most of it. So how in the world did this happen? So this guy goes on a live stream, get this. And as he's on the live stream, he ends up, this is just crazy. He was on Gala Games trying to play a game and he went to look for his password. Well, he pulled up Notepad, which you should never do this, but he pulled up Notepad where he had his password stored. Ladies and gentlemen, don't use Notepad. Use something like one password, use whatever. LastPass, use some sort of password management tool that's going to encrypt your passwords. But when he was on live stream and he pulled up his password, on the same notepad, he also had his MetaMask private keys, meaning he had it stored unencrypted. This is just a cautionary tale, ladies and gentlemen. Always encrypt your passwords, but also always use a Trezor or a Ledger, some sort of hardware wallet. When his private keys was shown, people immediately went and logged in, and he had $60,000 in Matic in his wallet. They transferred it quickly. The streamer comes back on stream. He ends the stream when he realizes what he's done. He tried to move the funds. It was too late. Literally, his streamers already had moved his funds. Now, it appears that more than one person got to his funds, but $50,000 worth of Matic was on that wallet. And he comes back on stream, and he's crying and he's tearful and he's apologizing. Well, not apologizing. He's asking right here. Here's a picture of it. He's tearful, as you can see. His eyes are obviously red. He said this is his life savings. Please return these funds. Begging for his money back ultimately. And it seems like one of his viewers actually reached out to him on Discord and said, "Hey, I made a mistake," and they send him the Matic back. Now the other 10,000 he hasn't gotten back yet. Who knows if he'll get it back? And it seems like the other 10,000 was in other cryptocurrencies, and maybe somebody else got those. I'm glad he got most of it back. Don't know if he'll ever get the rest, but he got, basically over 80% of it back. I think that is rare in the first place. But ladies and gentlemen, protect your private keys, not your keys, not your crypto. Protect your private keys. Be very careful, and of course, always use a hardware wallet. LastPass, Ledger, or whatever, Trezor, Elipay, whatever the wallet is. Just always use a wallet. Now, let's get to the crypto drama, and then I'm going to tell you what's coming up on this channel for you the next couple of weeks. I got some good videos planned for you. So here's some drama for you. Bitboy Crypto no longer included the actual YouTuber Ben Armstrong. A lot of people were shocked by this. It seems that Ben Armstrong, known as Bitboy Crypto on the YouTube channel Bitboy Crypto, started the channel, and eventually it grew into a big business with multiple brands, and it looks like he brought on some investors where he no longer had the majority stake in the brand. They ultimately, this past week, decided they want to get rid of him. He basically got kicked out, whatever you want to call it, from his own channel that he started. Now, this is a bit crazy, and it wasn't really clear what was going on or why until he put out this video. Or I should say they put out this video for him. And I'll link the video down in the description. It's 8 minutes. You can watch it for yourself. A lot of people don't like Bitboy Crypto, and like him or not, I mean, clearly he has a significant amount of influence. 1.4 million subscribers on this channel, 134,000 views. No matter what he does, he'll be able to come back. I mean, here, listen, I've been critical of Bitboy Crypto, but clearly the guy knows how to work hard. You can't take work ethic away from the guy. He puts in crazy, crazy hours into his channel and into his crypto businesses. Now, a lot of people don't like Bitboy Crypto and they don't like the way he runs his business, and I've been critical on this channel as well, and I get that some of that criticism is absolutely fair. However, in this video, he talks about that he had a relapse in drugs. Now, I guess in the past, he did cocaine, he did meth. I think it's incredible someone can have a past as a severe drug addict and then come back and have success. I think that's incredible. He said he's relapsed. Now, he claims here that he's relapsed on steroids and he's relapsed on some sort of diet pills, trying to get in shape, and he ended up having an affair on his wife. There's clearly a little bit more to the story. He talks about that his partners, who basically kicked him out of his own company, they confronted him and he felt ambushed. And if that's the case, it blows my mind in crypto, the size of some of these companies and the very fundamentals of running business escapes them. Like, if it's true, if it is in fact true that he felt ambushed because the very first time ever that these people, confronted him, they were kicking him out. If it got to that point, then clearly there's some high level inability to communicate. I mean, like you've got to be able to communicate. Most of the time when you see high level CEOs and CFOs and CTOs and you see executives at high levels in multi-million-dollar companies, most of the time they have communication skills. It was kind of required to ever work their way up into that position, so to speak. So I don't know, what exactly happened here. I think there's more than meets the eye. But to BitBoy's credit, started the video taking ownership and apologizing. That's good. This is his wife in the video. He admits to having an affair. She says she's going to stay with him and they're going to get through this. Listen, I myself have made horrible mistakes in my personal life in the past. I am not going to judge somebody for that. We are imperfect people in an imperfect world, and we are imperfect humans. We can give fair criticism. We can criticize business practices. But at the end of the day, we need to encourage one another and hope for the best for people. As far as his personal life goes, I hope he gets better. I hope his relationship improves. I hope he's able to rebuild a brand and he's better for it. I'll put the video for this 8-minute video down below so you can watch it for yourself if you'd like. Also coming up on the channel, I got a video coming out where I'm going to talk about a crypto token that is averaging 1 to 2% per day in price appreciation right now. That video is going to be coming up probably next week. I also got a video that I'm going to put out where I've been mining Bitcoin for, I believe, over 4 years. I got to go back and look at my the first time I withdrew. Using my laptop, I'm going to talk about how much I've earned. Also, my journey to earning a full-time income with crypto. There's a series I'm going to start on my channel about earning a full-time income with crypto, earning a passive income, and I'm going to update that series probably weekly, I think. But that I'm going to introduce that series probably in the next week or two. Also, I got a video coming out, the best ways that I know how to earn crypto absolutely for free. I'm earning passive income every single month for free, totally free. You don't even have to put in an investment. It's incredible. Stay tuned for those videos so you don't miss them. Make certain you go down below, smash that subscribe button, click the bell notification icon, and click all. Hey, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.